is we evaluate whether the person that filed it actually had a marketplace interaction. God, what would it be like if Google did that? And I don't hate Google. I don't hate Google. But we are the only nonprofit in the game. If you read the terms and conditions for throwing stones at them, they do a great job in a lot of great ways, and we partner with a lot of them at an international level. But when it comes to getting disputes, the first thing you do is see if it's a real situation. And what we started to see is that they were not. We would get complaints against businesses in Delaware that were not real. So we started doing tracking of the scams targeting Delaware. BBB in 2015 launched a self-reporting tool that runs parallel to reporting with law enforcement, parallel to reports with the FTC. Because most of what we get are people that are searching for stuff you might expect. You don't have to read that. It just says people are searching BBB for contractors. They're searching BBB for landscapers or attorneys. These are the top things that most people search. I don't know what it is. I gotta look this up, but apparently Delaware's got a lot of companies headquartered here on paper. Corporate franchise something? I don't know. It's actually my first job was at Corporation Service Company. I worked for TCC. It's a rite of passage here in Delaware, right? I love the incorporation franchise for Delaware, but it gives us a special, unique set of snowflake problems because businesses that are headquartered here, scammers love to represent that they're here. So the research we do is incredibly important. People think that BBB is for old people. Spoiler alert, it is not. Our demographics skew towards about the time you buy a home. Major buying decisions, right? If you're gonna find a restaurant, yeah, go use Yelp, please use Yelp, right? But if you're gonna make a major decision, if you're gonna buy something that's very expensive or that you've never bought before, that's where people turn to BBB overwhelmingly. They're doing pre-purchase research, right? That's what we're here for. That's what we've always been here for, and it's free. Because word of mouth is king, right? This is Delaware, right? Like word of mouth. But word of mouth still just leads people to Google. And when they go to Google, qualify a business. I think they're always looking to disqualify. They're looking for red flags because that's easy, right? That they can judge because they don't have the expertise to know what they need to ask if they're going to hire a lawyer. I don't know. If I haven't had a roof on my house in 10 years, I don't want to sound stupid, but I don't really know if GAF is important or what kind of shingles are best for me. I guess the salesman said I should buy this kind. People are getting educated by salespeople, and they need a place to do unbiased, non-government, neutral third-party research, and that's us. But again, what about fraud and scam? John, get to the fraud and scam part. We have been seeing a shift in how people do research. I think you guys have probably seen it too. It's these two special letters, AI. Used to be you'd do a search for a business and the web algorithms would crawl and they would say, I'm gonna look at all these websites and see which ones are relevant, and I'm gonna serve that up to you as a link, a series of links. But now these days, when you go to the internet and you search, you get an answer. It just tells you, it's the answer economy. It's like, here's what you wanted to know. You don't have to go to anybody's website. You don't have to go to anybody's links. Google's AI, for example, has started to realize, and this is gonna blow your minds, it started to realize that everybody's website only said good things about them. I know, right? It's weird though, because I thought about a website where they're like, oh, customer service is only okay. You don't see that out there that often. So they're starting to look for third-party credentialing, right? It's not just BBB, but it's an evolution in how people do research. And that's why what we're doing is important. Get to the fraud stuff, man. All right, let me get to the fraud stuff. We work with law enforcement, right? We work with law enforcement. This is a guy downstate that we contributed because we get complaints. This is a home improvement fraud. The guy was showing up. He showed up to the house of an 82-year-old woman at 9 complaints. We were able to support Troop 4 and their financial crimes division because we had a victim list. Did they do the heavy lifting? Heck yeah, we're not an enforcement agency, but we contribute. This was pretty cool. I worked with the FBI last year. And I was like, look at me, I'm an FBI. There was a guy who had been operating in Delaware for a low, reasonable fee. And then people started being like, yo, I'd like my metal back. And he was like, the thing about that metal getting it back to you is it's actually, I don't have it liquid right now because of these investments that I made with it. And they're like, I didn't give you my gold so that you could invest with it. It was a fantastic opportunity because it had to be liquidated to be put somewhere else. Again, I'm not trying to overstate. The FBI did all the heavy lifting, but that was a huge help to them to have somebody incriminate themselves. But the idea is we contribute, we work with law enforcement all the time, we get these complaints, we see these scam businesses, but it's also skews way younger. And so a lot of what we actually do is outreach, right? We try to get in front of anywhere we can go. I try to get in front of kids, which, by the way, not the preferred nomenclature. They prefer to be called younger consumers. Actually, they prefer to be called adults, but let's be clear. I'm not sure they are. This is me and our outreach program. We reached 1,646 kids last year, getting in front of them and talking about the specific scams targeting their demographic. Now, I still do outreach for older consumers, absolutely, but younger consumers aren't getting it. This is a financial literacy step that I'm trying to get in front of every student in every high school. Look at that little sketch that William Penn of me. I was like, that kind of a good likeness of me. We do this outreach because these are your entry-level workforce, and they don't understand how to evaluate and vet some of the more sophisticated scams that are happening. I track improvement because I'm a data-minded guy. I work with UD's Learner College. This can be taught. Look at those percent improvements. I mean, it is scary how low those numbers start at the beginning of my program, but this can be taught. I go to outreach to older consumers. They don't want to do my online quizzes. That's fine. But the idea, though, is BBB is a local resource. It's right here. We get an incredible amount of data that's crowdsourced, in a lot of cases, from people filing complaints and reviews, or by the outreach that we do to document a database. And that's our biggest strength, is our database. We are trying to do our best to provide the most relevant, up-to-date information for free to the public so that they can make sure they're doing their due diligence on any company that they might hire. You know, it's standards-based, right? And I'm not judge, jury, and executioner. They're always like, oh, I'm gonna get the Better Business Bureau on you. Like, I'm the mafia, I'm gonna go break somebody's legs for them. Use this mallet right here. That's not it, right? Like, there's so many businesses out there. Some of you may have experienced this with your own. It's consumers sometimes that don't live on planet Earth, right? We have an extraordinary relationship with businesses to try to help them protect their reputation. Because all it takes is one loose cannon, one keyboard warrior, and they're gonna smear your name through the mud. We've seen it with disgruntled former employees. We've seen it with competitors. And BBB is here as a shield to try to help present the best, most objective overview of a business. And again, it starts with not even posting stuff that isn't from an actual customer. Right? I mean, that is a very real and amazing thing that I think is overlooked by a lot of what we do because our process is grounded in trying to be the most relevant. And we've got a local board of directors that helps. We've got a lot of local support from businesses. But the idea for what we do is trying to be the strongest local resource. But a lot of that is when you've got a legacy organization trying to do outreach to sort of fly the flag of what we actually do versus what people think we do. Because look, BBB's been around for a long time. 60 years in Delaware, but 112 internationally. We have evolved. And honestly, with the world of the internet, we're right back where we started. It's like the Wild West with a snake oil salesman, except now it's large language modules putting up fake websites, offering it at a discounted price and accepting your credit card number for a scammer. I would love to address any questions. I think I've got a couple of minutes for that. I tried to talk probably a little bit faster than I should have. But I want to respect your time, and it is an incredible opportunity to be here today. So there's one right there.
Thank you. That was very entertaining and informative. My name is Captain Jacobson, and I have two questions. One, how do you get money?
Okay.
Two, it says there, or it said on the prior screen, that you called out and addressed substandard marketplace behavior. How?
Love that. So funding model first, we are supported by about 1,380 local businesses that have voluntarily applied for accreditation. These are businesses that basically raise their hand and let us do a deeper dive into how their business operates. And as part of that, they provide funding. So we're a 501c6. We don't get any state or federal money. I love that. We don't cost taxpayers a dime. 100% supported by businesses. And anytime you see a business that's rocking that logo, they are a financial supporter in addition to somebody who's gone through that process to be evaluated according to those standards. So that's the money part of it. The other question was, how do we call out marketplace behavior? Easiest way is our database, because my mission is to get people to think of BBB before they hire somebody rather than when they've already had a complaint. I got a guy called the other day about a paving company down in Milford, and he's like, I want to file a complaint against these bleepity bleepers. And I was like, all right, well, let's look them up. Well, there's a company. They already have an F rating on Better Business Bureau. Our public profile for the company basically says, don't use them. But he didn't check first. And that's not his fault. That's my fault. That's our organization's fault for not doing more to remind people that this is a resource that they can use, but we're small. It was real quick on that first slide. We're 4 of us. We've got a very small budget. So we try to do everything we can to get the word out there, but it's the database. It's people coming to the BBB first. They're looking at 3 quotes. They check all 3 of them out and they say, ah, well, this guy I'm never going to use because of this, and then looking at the reasons the other ones might have objective information to help them make that choice. Does that answer your questions?
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you again for the presentation. Actually, my first question was the funding issue, so you already responded to that. The second question is, what are the criteria for you to take on a case, if that's what you call it? Like, for example, I got scammed out. I feel really silly, but you know, $4,000. I consider myself fairly intelligent, but yes, I fell for it. Right? So, would you take something like that on?
So, I'm sorry, one more. And then,
coupled to that question is there what's like equivalent of a statute of limitations that I would apply? You know, this happened 4 years ago.
Sure. Question 1, funding, addressed it. Businesses, yay. I want to say it again though, I like that we're not a line item in grant and aid. There's a lot of great organizations that need that kind of funding, and the fact that BBB for 60 years has been completely supported by the business community, I think is a testament to the strength of the organization. As to the scam stuff, the honest truth is that nobody's getting their money back. I had a story. There was a guy, he lost $28,000 to a romance scam. And he called me up because he felt that the business was located in Delaware. And when I had to unfortunately walk him through how he had been ripped off and that he'd been targeted by a scammer, he was so angry. He's like, I just am so angry. I want these guys to go to jail. And I'm like, well, that would be awesome. And sometimes they do. We've had some success stories, but it doesn't happen quickly. He called me back a week later and he's like, John, we're going to get these guys. And I was like, no, sir, we are not. I promise you, that's not how it works. He's like, no, the FBI contacted me and they've been tracking these guys for years. They knew exactly how much money I sent. They knew the exact date that I sent the money. They knew all of the information about the situation. And if I just send $500 more, they're going to set up a sting. I was like, you know, there are 2 people that know all of those details, the victim and the perpetrator. So I always have to unfortunately tell people that you should absolutely file it. There is no statute of limitations. We aggregate this data, we send it up to the FTC, and we work with law enforcement everywhere we can. A lot of times, especially if it's cryptocurrency, there are evolving ways that we can trace the money later that helps go from a standpoint of enforcement, right? Helps them go to jail, but that money's gone. They spend the money. So I always tell people, and it's a sad thing to have to tell people, sorry, your money's gone. Sorry for your luck there. Sorry, can't help you. But the reality is that and I tell this to kids, younger adults. If you are a victim of fraud and scam, you are a victim of fraud and scam. And look, banks can't afford to shoulder this, right? Like I'm the co-chair of the Delaware Association of Bank Security. The vice chair. I'm the co-chair of the Delaware Fraud Working Group. I get so confused. So much fraud in my life, so much fraud. This is a huge problem for banks too, right? I mean, when you think about things like AI, what's a bank supposed to do with voice cloning, right? So I'm a scammer. I see your TikTok channel, and I take a 7-minute clip of your audio, and I got your voice now. I know your information because of some other breach somewhere, and I call your bank in your voice, and I say, hey, I'm making a major purchase tomorrow. Do not flag that as fraud. And then they make the purchase. It does not get flagged for fraud. You are like, I didn't order that. You call the bank. I didn't order that. They're like, yeah, you did. I got a recording of you. This is a complicated problem. And there's a lot of sophisticated solutions for it. But it is something where the long-winded answer to your question is always file it, right? If you lose money, file it with the police, get a police report. If you are targeted or a friend or family member is targeted, you can report it to BBB. Scam Tracker is a website. I think we can send it out afterwards if you guys want to look at it. But it's free self-reporting. That is where I get so much of the information that I can use in my outreach, example-wise. So wonderful questions. Thank you.
John, thanks for your presentation. So a follow-up question to that Scam Tracker. I've been getting a call and I've been ignoring it and not returning it about how I've been pre-approved or my loan's been approved and I just need to call them and they'll finalize the details. So I submit that on Scam Tracker and say this is the phone number that I got the call from and this is the message that they left me?
Yes, but I will, look, there's a reality issue here of the scale of the problem, right? I have read academic papers that indicate that the percentage of reported scams is less than 5%, right? So I don't actually think it is anything more than a black hole for you to report every single time you're targeted. I get texts all the time. They used to be like, I'm a recruiter with LinkedIn and I found your stuff and let's talk on WhatsApp. And I'm like, scammer. I'm now getting the ones where it's like, hey buddy, I haven't seen you in a while. I'm in town next week. And I'm like, who are you? Oh wait, you're a scammer. Got it, right, you're a scammer. So I would suggest the reports are most helpful if it's something that you feel is especially clever, or if it's something that is happening in an inordinate amount to you. Because you can put a report that says, for the last week, I've gotten 20 of these calls, and that helps us as well. But any report is helpful, but I'm sensitive to the fact that none of us has the time, God, I hope we don't have the time, to report every single thing that targets us from a standpoint of scam. But those reports do help. In the back.
When I go online, lots of products have what they call reviews.
Oh, yes.
How reliable are those reviews? Are they really done by real purchasers, or there's a major scam element involved?
Thank you for that question. And this is a big one that I do in all of my outreach presentations. I want you guys to think about reviews for a minute as a function of making a buying decision. I have seen word of mouth referrals hit a brick wall when they see red flags online. But I don't know how recently any of you guys have created a Gmail account. It ain't that hard. I could create 12 of them this afternoon. I could put a clip art face on every one of them, and I could go to any business I want, my own real business, my own fake business, my competitor's business, and I could just say whatever I want, guns a-blazing. BBB, we got one. We got a 1-star review on Google, no text. I was like, who are you? What did I do wrong? Were you a student and you didn't win a prize in my program? Are you a scammer and I wouldn't let you be accredited? Like, who are you? So when you look at reviews, you need to be incredibly dubious. Again, I read all the terms and conditions, right? Meta, Google, Angie, Yelp, take your pick. Every one of them say basically two things. They say, now by posting this review, you promise you're telling the truth. You're gonna check a box and you promise, I'm not gonna look, and you checked the box, you said you promised, I believe you. And they also say, Mr. Yelp or Miss TikTok, I don't know if they do reviews on TikTok, so pardon. What's TikTok? They say, we're gonna use this or not based on our terms of service. When you give us a review, I'm gonna use it. If you're an advertiser on Yelp and you get a bad review, I've heard businesses say that their bad reviews don't ever get posted. And I've heard the other side of that, where businesses that don't advertise on Yelp are like, I've gotten testimonials and Yelp won't post them. Not throwing stones at Yelp. There's a lot of great things that a lot of these businesses do trying to connect the dots, but when you think about reviews, they are incredibly subjective. Even BBB, I can't make people tell the truth, right? I can make sure you've got a local IP address, right? If you're filing a report and you're from Pakistan and you want to complain about Hillside, no, right? No, that's unlikely. I don't think, is that your search? You guys go that far? We can look at your email account. We can verify to make sure that that is a live email account. There's a couple of other automated steps that we can do internally to try to validate that, and then we can get the business involved and be like, do you know this guy? And if they say no, then we can push back and make them prove the marketplace interaction. But people lie, and especially disgruntled people. And again, man, it's not everybody. It's a small but powerful minority of people that just will never be satisfied. So BBB's reviews, I can't even say you could shake as gospel. But I will say that if you're reading reviews about anything, people do read them, people do write them, and it is one way amongst many that you should factor into your decision making. But I can't say that you should trust them or never trust them. Just understand how subjective they are.
Hi, John. Ashley. So I'm interested in your outreach, because if schools aren't doing it, they should be teaching kids financial literacy, and with the proliferation of the old smartphones, right, and the younger we're giving it to them, we're getting cash outs and access to teen credit cards or mom and dad's credit cards, bank accounts, and I'm even thinking of things how games for kids have in-app purchasing, and that can be insidious, right? So most of my question is just around how young is your outreach targeting?
Yeah.
Because I hear you about the 19, 18, but
Yeah.
are you reaching out to 12, 13, 14-year-olds?
So wonderful question. So I created this Scams and Students program in 2019. At that point, I'd been doing all older consumer outreach, and then we started getting reports from kids, younger adults or full adults, depending who you talk to. And I created the program in 2019 to go into high schools. And once I started doing that, it became 75% of my outreach. Now, high schools are 9 to 12, so a lot of public schools teach financial literacy in 10th grade. But that even is a little bit too old. Sextortion is a big thing right now. There is an inordinate amount of, oh God, the victim stuff kills me too. 13-year-old boy with a phone was talking to somebody, and I think it was Stumble Guys. It wasn't Roblox, Stumble Guys. They're like, hey, let's chat. I love talking with you. Within 40 minutes of meeting that person, he'd taken a nude picture of himself and sent it to her. Oh, but I say her, it was him because he was a Nigerian scammer. And then he blackmailed him and said, now, because of all the things you overshared, I know where you go to school, and I found their Facebook page, and here it is. I found your parents' email address at their work, and I'm gonna email it to them, unless you go and you get their credit card out of their wallet, and you let me go ahead and have that number right now. So it definitely needs to be younger. There is only one of me. I am doing a pilot program for 8th graders, I hope, at APO and at another school this year, because I wanna see. But I've been doing the outreach, well, I say since 2019, but there was this black hole that happened. I can't remember what it was. I guess I just got really busy for a couple of years, or not. 2022, 23 school years when I picked it back up. But the data we've been tracking has been evolving. And again, I work with Learner College. They're fantastic. The Center for Economic Education and Entrepreneurship. They've helped me to really be able to capture the data. So we're starting to look at how many kids use Cash App versus Venmo versus Zelle. Because these kids don't understand, those don't build credit. They don't build credit. I'm not on a shill for the banks, right? I do love the banks for a variety of reasons, except for the ones I don't. But there's a gap there in what students are coming out of school knowing. And with House Bill 203, I'm not a political person, but there is a bigger focus and attention on financial literacy. And I think, look, it's a free program, right? Schools don't pay me to go in there. I'm a sucker too. I go in right before spring break. I'll show up before Christmas, right? It's a Friday, and the teachers are like, no, do that dude, get that dude. Like jazz hands, candy. It's fun, and I really love to do it. But 8th grade is a whole different animal because it's a whole different animal. Oh, yes.
Earlier you mentioned AI and we call it LLM, large language models. What is Google or Better Business Bureau doing to pull in your content when someone does a search on, not Horizon or whatever?
Okay. Turn off the live stream, quick, turn off, no, just kidding. Look, we work with Microsoft, we work with Google. Internationally, BBB is trying to be as strong a resource as we can. Again, they're looking for third-party credentialing. They know that we're boots on the ground, right? BBB's, hi, I'm Delaware BBB, here I am. If you go to the Maryland BBB, guess what? You'll find people in Maryland, same in Philadelphia. Anywhere you go, we're local, we're boots on the ground organizations. That's valuable, right? That's with our data quality, the best quality data we can get, that's valuable to them. Google's gonna do Google, right? Like they're gonna decide what their focus is, but I will say this, I had somebody send me a screenshot that knocked me off my chair. A new business was trying to set up a Google profile, and Google asked them for their BBB URL. Not their accreditation, right? Not a money thing, but they know that even for a business that has a profile on BBB, which are free and we do for everybody, they know that we're gonna do an amount of research to validate that. And so Google, that is a thing that I saw recently that they're doing, but we love to partner with them. It's just that, we can't, they're Google, right? Like, so.
Thank you, this is very interesting. Two questions, one to follow up. Well, no, let me ask the question, because I forgot the other one. I have not been scammed ever until the last month. And all of a sudden, I've gotten on very, very different platforms 3 really weird scams. Is there something I'm likely doing differently that has caused that to occur and just won the lottery and not the big one?
No, so this is I've been trying to think of a way to explain what I think needs to happen in our society. And I was a little bit inspired by today, 9/11. We're old enough to remember when you just walked to the airport gate, right? There was no security. The idea at the time was that the security measures would identify the outlier. They would identify the thing that was a problem, and so there was no reason to do anything other than what we had always done. And we were wrong. And now, as a society, we might grumble about taking our shoes off, and in fact, they're getting to a point where they don't even need to do that, but we have made a societal paradigm shift from expecting that a couple of people are going to look for outliers to saying that the way that you protect people in that environment is controls and standards that you always do. And so I'm trying to find a way. The IT model used to be trust but verify. IT, frameworks used to be the idea that like you could probably trust something coming in, but you better kick the tires on it. That's right out the window. Talk to any IT professional and they'll tell you now it's zero trust. They trust nothing. And I think that that's what has to happen, because with the number of data breaches that are going on, with the amount of scammers that are selling and reselling that data, right? I mean, you would be amazed at how much of your information is on the website for the picking. We as a society need to change our minds about thinking that we're ever going to identify the scams. I can't teach you to identify a scam. I can teach you to change your mind and realize that anybody that asks you for your personal information or anybody that asks you for a payment information needs to be independently investigated. So I'm going to stick around for a little bit. Here you guys got macaroons, but thank you guys, and again, for having me in, and two, just for everything you guys do as Rotarians. I really value all of you, and I appreciate the opportunity here today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. This is an important topic, and thank you. Thanks for being here. Really important topic, and it's a good reminder. I think we all know this fraud, these scams, it's present, but sometimes we let our guard down, and it's an unfortunate world that we live in, that we need this information, we need these reminders. So thanks for the work that your organization is doing, and thanks for being here today. As an expression of our thanks, we're going to be placing a book with your name in one of our early education partners schools here in the city of Wilmington. So thanks for doing that. With that, if your schedule permits, please hang around for the coffee and macaroons. Ask any questions that you want. Stay for the committee meeting, and otherwise we'll see you next week. And until then, take care of yourself, and if you can, someone else too.